So as we wind down, we have a panel discussion that is going to basically take place um, this this evening. But after that, we will have a cocktail event for closing the AfNOG day, and then at 7 we have a mass or RPKI BOF whiskey event. So if you're an operator in the room, I'll request that, of course, after we finish the panel discussion, you go to the AFNIC desk and then see Madvi and see if she can, sort out your ROA and certificates in preparation for the RPKI mass both at 7. Without any further ado, I want to thank Michelle and Samuel, and I would like to invite Alain and the panel for the last session. Thank you. Oh, question. All right.
No, it's not a question. Comment. Sorry, just a comment on what you're saying. Hi, it's Mark Tinker, CCOM. While the panelists are setting up, sorry, just need 2 minutes of your time. So just to elaborate on what Noah is saying, this evening at 7 p.m., we are doing an RPKI and manners verification whiskey buff. So there'll be whiskey and a couple of drinks at the back, and in the front, we shall be verifying if you've created an RPKI ROA, and also if you've certified yourself as being manners compliant, mutually agreed norms for routing security. And if you are verified live here between 7 and 11, there will be a special t-shirt that says you're verified and you'll be given one. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Alan? Can I have all the panelists for this last session join the...
So, okay. Okay, we will sit here. Adiel? No, okay. Okay, but let's start. Maybe Adiel can join us. My name is Alain Patrick Ayina. I'm going to, to moderate this section on the future of AfNOG. So we started the day celebrating the 20th. So I think it's good that before we close, we look at the future. And to do this, I'll be moderating the panel. Then on this side, you could see, okay, on this side, hello? Okay, on this side, you could see like, you see I have the veteran here, and then I have the young blood here. So veteran, get John. Maybe I should just let each panelist introduce themselves. Badru, and if Adiel comes, Adiel must be at my right. Then here I have Danny, Evelyn. So maybe get Jan, you start quickly to introduce yourself again.
You don't remember from this morning?
Maybe there are some people here who were not yet in the morning.
Okay, I don't know. Geert-Jan de Groot, AfNOG volunteer. So.
Badru Ntege, in Uganda, veterans mean something very different. So I won't claim to be a veteran yet.
I see Adiel coming, so Adiel, welcome, and just introduce yourself again.
So, Adiel la program.
Then Evelyn, before Danny.
Hi everyone, Evelyn Amara, Global Community Engagement Manager with the Internet Society.
Hello, Dania Fonko, NMF instructor, cloud solution-based automation for the tutorial who follow my training.
Okay, so so this is what is going to happen. Then we all know AfNOG, but let me remind you that AfNOG is the African Network Operator Group. I think it's very important that we we remember that this is supposed to be our operator group, and this operator group is supposed to create a forum for the providers, the operators to meet, to exchange experience, and when they meet, they also talk and trying to set up basis for collaboration, cooperation. So AfNOG, when we live here, AfNOG is a mailing list. How many people in this room have subscribed to the AfNOG mailing list? How many people here? Okay. Then the hard one is coming now. How many people has posted one mail on AfNOG mailing list? Then we have more people in listen only. Okay, but we will hear from you why that you you are not using your right to post or to engage on the list. So then we have the mailing list, and then every year we meet, and when we meet for AfNOG, we had the workshop, we have the tutorial, then we have the AfNOG meeting day. So this is, I think, a comprehensive description of what is AfNOG. So what I want to propose here is that we do a quick retrospective analysis of the 20 years, quick, of the 20 years, okay, and then the questions will be, how do you, the panelists will be given 5 minutes to tell us how did you see the journey, what are the success points, what are the challenges, what are the impacts, okay, from your point of view. Then after the panelists have given us the assessment of the 20 years, we will hear from the floor. So we want to hear from the AfNOG community, okay? And then we will come back to the panelists. We will come back to the panelists again, and then the question for panelists is to discuss the future. So what do you think we should do differently? How do we position AfNOG for the coming 10 years? And then we will also get feedback from you. Then we will close and go for the cocktail before the whiskey ball. So if you don't drink the whiskey, I'll go with you, I'll drink for you. Okay, so then let's start. I think I will start with Gajan. No?
Adiel first.
Okay, okay. Oh, then Badru first. Okay, Adiel. Okay, Adiel first. So Adiel, the question is, so what is your analysis, assessment of the 20 years, and from how the AfNOG, the model, the mailing list, the meeting format, etc. How do you, in a few words, what should be your assessment?
So my first assessment, and you all witnesses how they abuse me. Thank you very much, Alain. And as I mentioned this morning, I think the journey of AfNOG has been a very interesting one, tough sometimes, but at the end of the day, the perseverance of those who believe in what AfNOG was has helped produce some good results. In my sense, one of the key and visible aspect of the success of AfNOG is the evolution of its workshop the workshop part of the event. As we have seen this morning, it has evolved from 2 workshops to 8, and 8 with very diverse topics. Another interesting aspect is the tutorial. Every year the tutorial evolve, and there are new topics that come in during the tutorial. They address new technical issue related to the usage and the evolution of the internet technology itself. So for me, that's a success, because when AfNOG started with the very limited resources, there was no, it wasn't clear how far it will go, how much sustainable it will be, because you need to realize it's not, AfNOG is not an organization like AfriNIC, which has revenue through service that it provides. AfNOG is an organization loosely organized that's basically rely on donation, on sponsorship, and volunteering engagement of both people who train and people who speak. So something like that to survive over 20 years, but not only survive, but evolve, is a very interesting success point. So for me, it has significantly evolved. The challenge is how to continue integrating or changing or adapting the content to align with the evolution of the technology, not the technology itself, but also the usage of the internet as technology. We hear about new usage like artificial intelligence, which uses some of the power of the internet to deliver or provide way of solving issue, but using the intelligence of the network. How can we embrace that technology in our region to solve some of our issue? Is there room for AI in AfNOG program? Blockchain, IoT, all those things. How do we integrate them effectively into the agenda? But one critical aspect as well is not only giving the knowledge to people, but also helping them to use that knowledge to solve issue, and also to create a kind of to create wealth. Let call it to create means to sustain their own environment, but also to support back AfNOG. We say it's a donation, it's sponsorship. It will be very interesting to see people who go through this program to run or launch companies, launch initiatives that in turn can contribute back financially or by the time to support AfNOG again. So I will stop there to allow Oda in the panel to add, but overall was successful. New challenge ahead, and we should adapt. All right, thanks.
Okay, so in the next, the second part, so we will ask you to help us look at how we will address the challenges. So, Badru?
Thank you. In the 20 years, AfNOG has evolved. If you reference back to the presentations earlier by both Noah and GJ, we've seen a lot of change. At the same time, the industry is changing. But one thing that is definitely not going to change much, you see a lot of statistics about which jobs will be available 20, 30 years from now. The network or the need of the network is always going to be there. It's going to adapt, but it's always going to be there. And how we do what we do in terms of being able to bring people together and share knowledge. That has also changed, but the one thing that doesn't change again is the cost. You need to be able to understand the financial side of doing what we do and seeing how you can adapt that. We have gradually, if you go back probably about 10 years ago or less, you will not have this many banners in the room, because at one point we had actually were anti-commercial. We slowly evolved to allow a bit of support in terms of financial as the growth has come. So how we continue to balance that without, while avoiding capture is an interesting thought and challenge, how we're going to look at that. The other thing that we used to have a drive on that needs to be strengthened again is the growth of local NOGs. The local NOGs helped us raise the level, entry level, so we can deliver deeper training. And I think some more forecast needs to be put in there so that we can actually, the 5 days that we spend doing the technical training, we believe we could actually maybe push a level higher if we strengthen a lot more in what's happening in the local NOGs. As we've evolved and as we've seen, we cannot delink the AfNOG side from the AfriNIC policy side. I foresee a need from deeper policy training so that we actually have people who understand a bit more on the policy decision, so that before, as we get into policy side, we have a wider community that can actually deeply debate policy. Maybe that's something that we might need to figure out. I'm not sure whether a track or workshop. I see that coming and being needed a bit more, that we need to be going a little bit higher up in the layers. The sustainability of knowledge transfer. When you do knowledge transfer, as long as you're not continually transferring that knowledge, it dies somewhere. How do we create a structure that enables the sustainability of that knowledge transfer, that you have a multiplier effect? And we had a workshop, we had a presentation this afternoon about measurement. We need to track, we need to figure out how we're measuring the impact when we say that we had let's say we know we had 200 people going through the training. How do I track that not only have they added value, but they've gone back and they've multiplied that value by 2 or 3 people, 4 people? So the need to be able to get that, because having the interesting experience I've had this year is I am part of Secretariat. I understand AfNOG through and through, but the challenge to explain that to partners, to sponsors, and most of the sponsors, until they walked into this room, did not actually understand the impact that AfNOG is, including the dignitaries we had yesterday, because we need to find that relevance. We all know personally inside the relevance of it. That's why it sustained us for 20 years. We need to be able to find a messaging way of making that happen. Besides that, I think for me, I like the adaptation. We are growing, we're adapting. We're also adapting at the rate that we can adapt on. Maybe down the road, we might need to adapt a little bit faster. But all in all, I think we've done pretty well, and we can continue. And the future is actually quite bright in terms of what the possibilities are. I'll stop there.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Badru. So, but I have a quick question for you. So, Badru, you look like up to now you are the only one, the first and the only one to host 2 events, right?
As an individual, yes, but Kenya as a country also twice.
Okay, but anyway, the question is still relevant. So, can you say that it's more easier now to host compared to the previous one? So what can you say? Is it easier this year compared to 2003?
2003 had slightly different challenges. Now the challenges are slightly different in terms of the bar is a little bit higher than 2003. I think 2003 we had not more than 100 people, if I remember. I'm not sure what the numbers were, but we're in those numbers. But we were 200 about there. But the bar has changed, and so, but it's easier though, because I know more about the organization, and it's evolved quite heavily.
Thank you, Gajan. So the 20 years.
Yeah, so I was able to make a few notes. And give a mixed bag, the positive, but also the other side. I think things have changed a lot in 20 years. When we started, AfNOG was basically the only thing that exists these days, and I'm very proud of it. In many countries, viable national communities exist that hold national NOGs, and I really appreciate that. I'd like to see. I like to think it's a result of some of the earlier work, and it fits Africa rather well, because unfortunately, as we all know, that the center of Africa when it comes to travel is either Charles de Gaulle or Heathrow Airport, and traveling is expensive and it's difficult. So the question is always, do you want to move people across continent? That's always a thing. I must stress that I'm very proud of the people I had the privilege to learn. And I'm very proud of seeing people to grow and become key players. That's one side of the story. But I also have my worries. Meetings are getting large. It's getting harder to find venues that meet our needs. Funding, while I'm not involved in the funding discussions and I don't know anything about it, but it can't get easier as costs rise. Putting people in a 5-star hotel for 2 weeks isn't cheap. It's as simple as that. Can't be cheap. And to find venues that are big enough to fit is getting difficult. It's only the biggest hotels that would fit us. If you look at this hotel, it's fairly big, and we stretch it out to the max. We took out the canteen, we took out the restaurant just so that we could have enough classrooms. And that's if you get this big, that limits your ability to do negotiation, and that of course does not help for the cost. So I'm very happy that we got here, but for some other countries that are rumors I hear in the future, it's like, well, how does that work? Logistics is also getting more complicated. If you have a smaller event, it fits in one hotel. You can do the workshop bit and the plenary bit in one hotel. We have had years where the plenary bit and the workshop bit have been in different hotels, meaning a lot of logistics travel, people having to get buses and all that stuff. Difficult. Last year, we even had to lodge people in at least half a dozen different hotels, and the travel was just madness. So that combined with the cost of getting people to the country gives me worries. Another thing is about synergy. We have this combination event, and it has everything from workshop to tutorials to special groups like the NRENs and various other interest groups. But I sometimes wonder about synergy. Later this week, there's the AfNOG meeting. And while I appreciate what's happened there, I wonder what the relationship is of a membership meeting to people who we just thought about BGP, or people who we just thought about postfix, or people who we thought about DNS. What happens at the AfNOG meeting is important, but it's in a different scale. And yet those days, we lodge those people, we feed the people, it costs. So I wonder if one big event, it has its side effects. Also, there's this thing about language, and I know that people on the table may not agree, but I'm going to mention it anyway. I should start. You found out my Dutch. I'm Dutch, so English is not my native language. So I hope you allow me to say a few comments. if my screensaver doesn't kick in, that is. So if you become a medical doctor, you learn Latin. Not because Latin helps, but because every muscle in your body and everything in your body has a unique Latin name. It has no other function than to have a unique name. It could have been in Latin, could have been in Russian, could have been in Swahili, perhaps it should have been, but it has one name. Now, if we start adding more classes in more languages, French, I've heard about Portuguese at some point. At one time, I'm happy that to allow people to give people training in their own language. At the same time, the lingua franca for technical internet is English. And I wonder if you teach people, if you do them a technical track in Spanish and you learn them the technical terms for the technology in Spanish, if that helps them, if they need to look up something and type in the technical term in Google, because they will not get the English information that's out there. So I have mixed feelings on that. So concluding, I'm happy with the result that we have. I worry about the future, about the scaling, and about the setup, and perhaps because we now enable to get the possibilities to do more localized events, perhaps that is one possibility where the future may lie.
Thank you, Gajan. I think I hear that you worry for the future, but we're gonna do it anyway. Then let me turn to these people. So Evelyn and Danny, I don't want you to be scared by what these people said. I know these people, they always talk nonsense anyway. I know them. So yeah, I know these people, they always say nonsense. So Evelyn, please tell me and tell this audience, so how it goes. You came, you joined AfNOG, okay, then, but you stay. That means you are not scared. So tell us your experience and what do you see as a success story, and the challenges for you to join and to stay and to proceed with what you are doing now.
Thank you very much, Ale. So actually, a lot of the points that I wanted to speak about were covered. Most of them were covered, but really, I think since 2007, because that's when I did my first AfNOG, and that was in Nigeria. And then I did another one in Morocco. I think one of the aspects that you mentioned, that's Adiel, is the evolution of the courses, because back then we had probably 4 courses. So you would either come in and do Unix admin, do SSE, SIE, and then you're done. And then there was a point where for most of us who wanted to come back, you didn't know what else you had to do. So that created a void in terms of how do I give back to the community? What more can I do? How can I build more capacity in that moment? So that was a challenge, but I think I love what I see now, because within the last 20 years, we've seen more courses coming up. Of course, we'll have the discussion in terms of is what we have more relevant today, especially as we start thinking about emerging technologies. Adiel pointed on that as well. When we think about the 4th industrial revolution and the future of jobs and the youth and the young people and what AfNOG is doing today in terms of course content, are we addressing enough in terms of that aspect? I think for me, that's the one thing that keeps ringing in my mind. In terms of if we are preparing ourselves for those things, artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, etc. And then another thing that I cannot fail to talk about today, Nancy, in her statistics, she said that we are now at about 30% in terms of gender diversity for the AfNOGs, for AIS in general. And back then it used to be fewer numbers, but I still think 30% is still low. So we need to get equals in that aspect of the numbers. And one thing that I appreciated very well in the earlier days is that we had the AfNOG Chicks, which I was actually one of the instructors in AfNOG Chicks. So after finishing my AfNOGs, I was an instructor, and we built capacity for women in, I remember I went to Nairobi, we did Malawi, Botswana, but because AfNOG depends on sponsorships, like someone said, we no longer do the AfNOG Chicks courses. And I want to say that those were very significant, especially because I saw many women coming together, because I did my courses with the general, courses where there were men and women, but I also was part of the AfNOG Chicks as an instructor, and I saw the other aspect where women would actually come and they were so free to express themselves, and they actually came back and became part of this community. So for me, that's the one aspect that I feel and hope that it would have stayed, and hopefully we can get more funding and more people interested in that so that we can build more capacity for women in technology. I think aside from that, I will be happy to talk about what I think the future will be, but for me, later. Yeah, but for me, I think it's the last 20 years, I would say we've made a lot of progress. I've seen more numbers coming up. So many of us are coming for these events. So whether we decide to either scale large or scale deeper in the content, that's a topic for discussion. But I think we've shown that this is relevant, and that's why I keep coming back to give back to the community that really helped me a lot in my earlier days.
So thank you, Evelyn, for this. So I will make sure that you will be the first to go talk about the future, because I can see that you are already ready to go. So I will make sure. So, Monsieur Afanko, maybe we should speak some French anyway. Bon, okay. So, Monsieur Afanko, please tell us. So,
yeah.
Then when was your first AfNOG?
It was 2006 in Nairobi.
Nairobi, okay.
And I was student.
Since then, what happened? So, for you, what were the challenges, or what did you enjoy the most, etc., etc.? Please tell us. Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Afanko Dani, and I've attended my first AfNOG training on 2006 in Nairobi. And at that moment, I had this sparkle that bring my idea. I was like, wow, now I can install a web server, install a JNet server. I was so excited. And my journey just started from there. And I want to thank you, because this training make me grow, and I've worked for like a system engineer at AfNOG. After that, years after, I worked like a cloud solution architect for Red Hat in France. And now I'm the CEO of a company that I created. And yeah, I want to thank you. Yeah, this community make me the man who I am. I mean, actually, and I'm very grateful for this initiative, because it is a community-based, and it's amazing. But we need to make it grow and help people, our people to grow as well, and have this feedback, this give back for me is quite important, because this community gave me almost everything that I have now. So yeah, but yeah, again, there's some way to improve it and make it much better. Yeah.
Thank you, Danny. So I think now I'm going to open the floor for a couple of questions. But let me warn you, I don't want to hear fellowship. I don't want to hear travel money and this. Okay. So if you want to complain about travel and the fellowship, so let me know. And then, okay, I was joking. So please, the floor opens. But I know that anytime you open, then you complain about the other time I apply, that I didn't get selected, and this and that. So I also want to hear that, but let's focus on the substance. The fellowship one, we can still address the fellowship one, etc. Because we hear that AfNOG need money. Okay, well, then we talk the sponsors, but the participant also has to time, I think, put money on the table. So the floor is yours if you want to, but we're discussing the 20 years now. So then we'll go for the future. 5, 4. Okay. Isham.
Yes, hello. My name is Hisham Ibrahim, and I just wanted to share my experience, which is very similar to Danny's. Danny, you said you joined 2006. Yeah, hello. 2006. Mine was 2007. And since then, again, I feel this community gave me a lot personally. Like you, I worked for AfNOG for a while. I did a lot with the community, Africa Peering Forum, and I do think that the work that is being done here is very admirable. I think that it has prepared a lot of new talents to get into areas of development in internet that would not have been there without this without this platform. I do have ideas about things in the future, but I'm understanding from you, you want that later. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the people that have been doing this for 20 years. It's actually been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Isham.
Hello, everyone. I'm Valerie Bishala from Congo. This is my first AfNOG, and it was a pleasure. It's a pleasure, still a pleasure for me to be member of AfNOG. I know the way I've seen the path of some instructors there, let's say Danny, it was amazing. I was looking for it. I was waiting to hear from him because he was one of my instructors here. So I get inspired by him. So let me say, me joining AfNOG will bring up some ads. So it may be a shame for me to leave AfNOG alone. I'll go aside. So this AfNOG, according to from these 20 years, from 2000 up to now, there has been no AfNOG organized in Congo. So I will implore one of the next organizations to take place in Congo because it's a big green city. It's a pleasure for me to one day go and visit my country as I came and visit Uganda. Thank you.
Which Congo? Because we have two, DRC or the one. I want to make sure that we
Congo DRC.
DRC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I'm also from DRC. I think it will be very good if one day we organize this event. Thank you.
So are you a candidate for a host?
Are you a candidate?
Think carefully.
But maybe Nico, can you? Because maybe I should not say if I'm candidate or not. ISPA with our internet. Yeah.
Okay. So I can see like DRC people are doing some maneuvering. I see one from here, the one there, and then the other one. So it look like we have a network of DRC going on here. So please, please.
Je vais demander à ce qu'on traduise. Nous sommes candidats pour l'organisation du.
We are candidates for the next meeting in Kinshasa. We shall be very happy to receive you there.
Okay.
We are candidates. Thank you so much.
So they will be glad if their application is accepted. So yeah, we will wait. Maybe there will be an announcement before we close of who is going to be, or maybe tomorrow or after the AGMM of our clinic, maybe we'll know who is going to be the host. So, but you need to do some networking. You want to do some networking. Okay, so thank you.
Okay, I think for me also, I will take this opportunity to thank AfNOG. My first AfNOG meeting was in 2010 in Kigali. I was just coming straight from getting after finish my bachelor degree. And in this community, I've met so many people, including Adele, Adbo, Alan, and others. I've received very good advice, specifically when it comes to education, that I have to pursue my study and all of that. And as I'm standing here, I'm also like myself as a AfNOG product, and I think that's maybe I will come for the future. But I think what AfNOG has done for African continent is something which is amazing, and I think all of us, we have a moral responsibility to support AfNOG in different ways. Thank you. So
thank you. And from what I hear, I think I I have to put a proposal on the table. We create AfNOG Trust, and the AfNOG Trust will be in charge of collecting some revenue for anything these people, any money the AfNOG product make, then we also transfer something to AfNOG Trust. Okay. Oh,
why not?
I see. Okay. Oh, the queue is getting long. So then I'm going to close after. So please.
This is Patrick from Burundi, working for IPTP. I would like just to make a testimony for AfNOG. First of all, I would like to say thanks to Aina. He was my first teacher in Burundi back home. He's the one who announced me regarding AfNOG. And since this is my 7th participation, and I can say that the one who brings me where I am through the networking platforms, the people I'm meeting during the AIS, but also regarding technical, all the bases now we have, I think that we are getting them from. So we think we are happy for the good job. Please keep moving forward.
So, Madam, you go first.
Thank you. My name is Rita Nakasawe. I'm from Uganda. This is my first AfNOG. When Badru was presenting, he said that in the first AfNOG that was in Uganda, there were very few banners of sponsors. And I'm forgetting the name of the gentleman who said that it's hard nowadays, it's really hard. The economy is stretched. To convene a conference for 2 weeks for people in a 5-star hotel. Very true. Mine is just a suggestion. How about bringing these hotels on board as sponsors? We could have their banners as well, and then they give us very good rates. Thank you.
That is a good suggestions, and I think the AfNOG Secretariat people, I hope you are in the room. Okay, anyway, we are taking note of these things for you to look at. So my brother from Senegal.
Merci beaucoup. My name is Alpha from Senegal. I will be speaking in French.
I'm going to speak in French. Hello, I'm going to start by thanking everybody here. I want to tell you a small story. In 2009, we participated here, me and my colleague Abdallah, in Egypt. We came, we were trained by Mr. Aino, who's here, who speaks good French. When we went back home in Senegal, we did some few. We started having some consultant on the papers what to do because of things which we got from here, studies we got from here. We are very, very happy because of the expertise, the training we gave us, and working all the time when there is a meeting for AfNOG as a regulator. I do all my level tests to come in AfNOG and AfNOG. I have hope that it's a good initiative which is going to continue. As we are saying, in 20 years, we are now mature. Those days were to be held by hands. We used to look for funds because we are adolescents now. After 20 years now, we are adults. Perhaps it's better to look for a job. As we supported it as an individual, now we have to think how we can finance ourselves. I think it's a good reflection which I can think of, and I know there are possibilities which we can't. Thank you so much, and I encourage you. And I tell you, whatever you need, the government and regulators, the Senegal will be every time on your side. Thank you so much, Alpha.
Start the second phase of looking at the future. So what shall we do differently, and how do we project AfNOG in the coming 10 years. So as I promised, I will go to Evelyn first. Okay, I will do this side for the future before I can, because otherwise you guys will exhaust the ideas and then so I don't want. I know. So please, Evelyn. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. As I say, I got a lot from this community, and AfNOG gave me almost everything, but there's still room for improvement. And unfortunately, when I've attended my first AfNOG in 2006, the content of the course that I'm having today are quite the same. But yeah, so it might be a room for add a new content that can give another sparkle to somebody else, I don't know, to just come up with some brilliant idea to create something for Africa or to bring our community from a place to somewhere. Yeah, so there's a room for creating a new tracks, new trending environment to, because what we are facing in 2006 wasn't the same that we have now in this current environment. Before was only installing a web server, web application, or a mail server. But now when there's a lot of automation, when we are talking about cloud solution, AI, IoTs, yeah, so there's still room for to create stuff. So the hard skill for me are becoming less and less, useful. So we need to go for something that can improve or can enhance the soft skills. Yeah, so this is my idea of where I'm seeing the next generation of AfNOG, even in the track that we are providing.
Thank you, Danny. Evelyn.
Yeah, thank you so much. Coincidentally, we had that same discussion with Danny because 2006 I actually met Danny there in Kenya. And the course content that we had at that point is the same course content that we have today. And we're thinking about, how about that more automation actually? That's one of the biggest things that we've been talking about. We have a setup week for setting up the systems, and we have that still setup week, and we do a lot of things the same way. I don't know if that's by design, but if that time could be cut short, or if there's new things that could actually be added into the course content, I think that would be awesome. I think another thing for me looking at the future, again, that's the same idea I talked about AfNOG. I don't know what new ways we can emerge so that we have more women involved in actually the policy development discussions. Because I know you said that how many people join the AfNOG mailing list, and most of us are always super quiet. And I think there's not many of the women that are always involved in those discussions. So I don't know what can be done on that aspect, but to bring more voices in there and to make sure that more women can actually be involved in those processes and know what's going on, and we can actually be a part of the future. I know that's a question I also need to ask myself, and how I can also encourage more, but I feel like that's an aspect that we need to encourage more. Yeah, I think I will leave it at that for now.
Thank you, Evelyn. And I think if my data are correct, I think we only had one lady to co-author a policy proposal at AfNOG. So you are right. We need to get more women involved there. So, DJ, I think you should go now. Okay. Then Adia again. The future.
Gigi, what do you have against it?
So, what about the future? What shall we do differently? And how do you see AfNOG in the coming 10 years? Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, to start with, I would say, don't change anything that is successful. AfNOG has been successful. So I think the core need to stay as it is, because it has proven that over the 20 years, it has been successful. So the core, which is building capacity, bringing people together and building network of people, network of knowledge, I think that has to be maintained. But as I mentioned, looking at how to readjust the content and the structure to address some of the new technical challenges that we face in the region is something to look into. I think Benny and Evelyn have both mentioned the importance to relook at some of the content, relook at the way we do things, to take advantage of the evolution of the technology, but at the same time being able to also add them, include them into the different curriculum. There are few areas that I think deserve a little bit more attention. I was hearing Alpha talking about the engagement from the Senegalese regulator. I would love to see in the coming year more regulators standing on at the mic and saying the same thing and acknowledging the impact that an initiative like AfNOG has on them, has on their engagement in locally with operators, with the internet technology, with the way that they address some of the challenges that they have. We have a serious gap today between policymakers at the local level and the expertise of the internet technology. We are seeing, from our perspective, we are seeing more and more legislation, law, directive coming from government. But if you look at them closely, they are putting the internet in danger. Why? Because the understanding is not there. It's not their fault. They want to protect their people. They want to protect the environment. But the deep understanding of the technology, the way it works, is not quite there. So how do we build more sustainable bridge between those two worlds? I was saying a few days ago that in the early days, regulators and government were part of the ITU. And the ITU is an intergovernmental organization. So there are already processes built in to take ITU recommendations, build them into policy, and do that because the structure are already there. Today, there isn't, because things are not happening at the ITU anymore. They happen at the ITF, at AfNOG, at AfReNIC, at ICANN. And there is no bridge between those institutions and government per se. So how do we help, we here who have developed those expertise, to build the bridges, help our government, our regulator, our policymakers to understand, to work with us, and build a future that address some of the challenges like privacy, security, which are becoming key and critical going forward. So I think that's one of the challenges I see for ICANN, because teaching and only focusing on technology has proven its limitation, and focusing only on policy prove its limitation as well. Both has to go together, and we can do something about that. The second challenge that I think I see, and I believe that we can address them as well, is the showing the sustainability of the system. But there again, I know John has mentioned all the challenge that local hosts may have, finding hotels, finding the appropriate venue, and accommodating more and more people. I think those challenges are good challenges. In fact, that means we are growing. That means we are doing something that is, creating more and more interest into what we are doing. I believe that those challenges are not going to go away, and it shouldn't worry us. We have to learn to be more confident and see growth challenges as positive thing, and find more I would say, innovative way to address them. There was a lady that talked about bringing more the hotels as partner and giving them, some way of seeing the AfNOG event as a leverage for their own communication, name it. But I think we need to be more creative and see the challenges as opportunity instead of as things that keep us worrying. And that's something in our community or in our region as well. Confidence. Sometimes we lack confidence in our ability to address challenges. We look at the challenges, we found them too big for us to address, and we walk away. But we shouldn't. I think we should be confident. We should, that should be part of AfNOG as well. Teach our community, our young people, to be more confident, trust in themselves, to trust in their ability to find solutions where there is there is a problem. So the challenge will be there, but we have to be positive. We will face them, we will address them, and we have done so till now, and we should continue to do that. So those are for me the two things I will say. Build more bridges between the different community, technical and policymakers. Find a way, in an innovative way, to address some of the challenges which I consider as opportunity from my side. Thanks.
Thank you, Adiel. But when you were speaking, you mentioned challenges for ICANN. So Adiel is the Vice President ICANN in charge of technical engagement. Badru?
Brand wash.
Badru, yeah. So, but we are running a bit of time, so
okay.
Yeah. So okay. If you can. Yeah.
Yes, I think my points are really not very much different from what Adiel is looking at. But there's very little you can do without the human interaction. And so for me, the size, the people, the networking we do when we're here, I think we can't do much. That, I think, needs to stay as it is, because it's nothing beats spending 2 weeks connecting and exchanging with people from the entire continent. I personally look forward to it every year. I look forward to being here and doing that for 2 weeks. So that I suppose we really shouldn't be changing. Some of the things that we might look in the future, again, referring to some of the challenges we've expressed, is we'll be probably looking at maybe a hosting playbook. How do you host? So that it makes it easier for a future host to be able to create an event that that leaves memorable experiences for people, because a lot of our learning is always supported by the experience that you get around that learning. So those are some things I think we can look at. In terms of the content, in the morning, Doc said something about we have this ability of regenerating ourselves over the years and changing and adapting. And I see with all the collective knowledge that we have and we put together and the ideas, I'm not worried in terms of how we're going to regenerate ourselves and keep track with the technology and the needs. If we look back when we started and the tutorials, for me, I think we need to spend a bit more deeper side on those tutorials, because that's where we introduce the new things. I remember when we did when we did the blockchain in Nairobi, when we did the I forgot what is it. What's the other what's not an app? What's a Google software? What's it called? Sorry? Android. Yeah. So we've done a lot of these different things, and we introduced that particular sessions. And what that does, it triggers different ideas and gets people back to go back and build, and we get back. We talked about the policy side. And in my mind, I see a few more AFSTAs coming up. We don't have the legal side. We don't have that. I attended some of the AXA sessions, and I can see how it started. The policy side from would be another track, because then it gives you conversations across different different topics. And over the years, if you see how the AFSAT has grown, I see that being needed to go, because that is the collective. When we talked about the policy, the legal presentation earlier, it's about that collective mind share that actually creates the ability to be able to go back and convince and create policy along a shared value point, because our policymakers live in a world of reference. So if we are saying the same thing in Kampala and the same thing is being discussed in Togo about the same thought process, because whatever we do, what they do comes from us. So I see us adding that side of it onto the discussion so that we really cover the space. I believe technically we're right on top, but administrative and policy, the higher layers we need to look at that. Besides that, I think growth is good, the size is good, the continent is growing, the economies are growing. We will have a hotel that will take 1,000 people. I don't see that as a problem. And we have the ability to manage that. So yes, I look forward to AfNOG 30 with 1,000 people in a room, in a hotel, and as many tracks as need will be. We're able to do that as our ability to regenerate and adapt to the need. So I'm not worried. Actually, very, very optimistic that we will actually double our sizes. I don't think we're even anywhere near what we can do. Okay.
Thank you, Badru. But before I call GJ, you look like Badru. You look like you have been involved in the thinking, because past 3 years we were thinking on introducing a track on business, how people make money from the internet, this kind of thing. So, but I've been here in the new development. So we're lacking it. We had a discussion how to introduce this kind of business leadership. How you must remember. But now you look like you are evolved to layer 15. So
my experience on both sides, I'm involved in some regional policy levels, and if we don't have the critical mass technically to be able to instruct the policy side, the business will suffer. And so we need to be able to on a policy side to explain a lot in the process to get here as a host. When we spoke to most of the major organizations spoke to, there's a big space between the technical guys who are benefiting and the business decision makers because of the policy. So I think you can't jump to business until we're able to actually influence the policy at the back end. So I'm still at that side. I'm still business, but I'm learning that there's some steps we need to take.
I see Adiel want to add something, then DJ. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if that idea is around, I will encourage that, because again, as I was saying, what we want is that people who go through AfNOG training and capacity building program become people who also create wealth, create work, build business, make this knowledge sustainable in a way or another. But if they don't have the business 101, it will be difficult for them to set up a company and sustain it, because setting up a company is one thing, it's easy nowadays, but sustain it, make it grow. This morning there was a presentation about financing ISP, layer 8 and 9. How do we get to those layers effectively is a challenge when you're an engineer. Making the jump to that layer, it can be boring. I mean, why do I need to care about that aspect? I do my thing, I move the beat, the work, so money should come. No, it doesn't work like that. You can move as much as bit you want. If you don't have effective processes, you don't have a good business management processes, you can move as much as bit you want. You want to make money, you want to create wealth, you want to create sustainable processes. So I think it's an important thing that we need to look into as well to sustain this. It's strategically good for AfNOG itself because those who emerge from that could give back to AfNOG in terms of support.
Thank you. DJ?
Well, you made earlier comments about running out of time. Since I already said most what I should have said in this thing, sorry, so let's keep it brief. But there's one thing that I would like to make a few comments about, because I'm more involved in logistics and setting things up, stuff like that. And every year, there's lots of energy when AfNOG happens. So every year there's this, oh, we must do things differently and change it and do the way what we do. Unfortunately, and I regret to say I see this also for myself, is that we're all unpaid volunteers. We all do this next to our paid jobs. So this week there will be lots of enthusiasm to, you know, turn left to right, to up to down, and change everything. And by next week things get quiet and go into comatose, and they stay comatose until the next meeting starts. Actually, when we start late, and then we have additional cost and additional complexity because, gosh, the process didn't start in time. Certain steps were late for whatever reason. So I regret to say that one of my conclusions is that we have been very good in reproducing some of the challenges that we see year after year, some of the suboptimals, and that worries me quite a bit. So I'm hoping that this will be picked up, and maybe in a different context, but that we can really make some progress as to, we know what the goal is, and perhaps it should not be done exactly this way with light planning, with incomplete things, but do things more efficiently, which has a direct benefit that if we do it more efficiently, there could be more people in class. And that is what we're aiming for.
Thank you, JJ. I really appreciate. And so let me open the floor. It's already 6 p.m., but I'm willing to open the floor for a couple of, I think Isham, you are on the queue for future. Okay, so you to join the queue. Who else? Because then we close the queue. Okay, Gregoire.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam, for calling me back. I want to echo something DJ actually said at the beginning, which is developing those local and national NOGs. I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration after 20 years of AfNOG. How many national NOGs do we have here? I'm speaking as somebody that has his hands in like roughly a dozen NOGs around the world, from either being on a PC or kickstarting it and others, and developing that national. If you want AfNOG to continue at the pace that it is and grow, that needs to be taken into consideration and developing that on that level. And tying that into something else, maybe a little bit more tangible. So one of the things that one of the NOGs that I'm involved with is we have something called, so it's MINOG, and we have something called the MINOG Roadshow, where we have the trainings actually touring around the different countries and doing something similar to the workshops that are done here, but on a smaller scale, and addressing a little bit more of the technical issues in the country. And one of the things that we found very successful is after we've done the successful training, we try to organize a day where we bring all the players together to get them in the habit of talking together. I think that's something that maybe AfNOG consideration while looking into something like this. Very quick comment, and I'll leave for others to discuss more, but I have other thoughts I would love to share maybe offline, is you mentioned, Alan, about the mailing list at the beginning. Now, one of the mailing lists that I see very vibrant here in Africa is the Sudanese mailing list. They're very talkative, they're very chatty, and there's a lot happening there. But not all NOGs have very active mailing lists, and maybe it's something to be looked into. The fact that it's quiet doesn't mean they're very interested. Maybe it needs to look into different channels. Some of the other NOGs that I'm involved with have Telegram or WhatsApp groups, and people prefer using them a lot more because it's a lot more instantaneous for them. And it's a little bit more closer to the mentality of that they have here. These are just very quick ideas, but like I said, I'm happy to share more after. Thank you.
Thank you, Cham.
Thank you. Arno again, African Fellow. I just have two things to share. One of them is does AfNOG does it have an HQ, a headquarter anywhere? If not, why can't we build one and turn it into an institution? And number two,
shall I answer that one really quick?
Yeah.
The administration is is with Nancy, so headquarters is in where Nancy works. She does this next to her job. She does this next to having a family. And that's perhaps something to consider. It's not like we have something where we have a big building with, you know, Marvel, anything like that. She has a very, very busy job. She has a very, very busy family. And for a few months per year, we get to loan Nancy from her family to let her do her work here. That's the office that we have.
Yeah, I thought that was the whole point of having a plan for next 10 years or 20 years. Maybe have them as full-time. It was a suggestion, not a question anyway. The second one would be, why not partner with universities? And we will have NOGs and as well, but I've seen what the African Virtual University does, whereby in some countries, they partner with universities and some courses are done online and then degrees are offered or exchange programs. Among the ethos we saw in the morning about AfNOG, this could be one of them in the capacity building, because throughout the week I've been talking to people, and when they said that at university at times really, some really learn almost nothing. Maybe AfNOG can come and be practical. If a course is given, they take 2 weeks online for students and then they go on. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you, Gregoire.
Thank you. So my name is Gregoire Eumi. I'm AfNOG instructor. So I have two items. The first one is about diversity for language. So it's a call for French people. This year is the only one track for French. And it's something that is common when we have meeting in English country. But I think we should call for more participation also in French. And also maybe we should review the way the fees management, how the participants are paying. Maybe we can open a door for students that want to pay by themselves, not by company, for example. So the second item is about the topic, the update about topic. You already mentioned that, but I would say it's very critical because we still have some old topic. So we should do the upgrade of those topics. And also maybe we should open in the next year a committee that will share the mailing list, the new topic or an idea, and then we will validate before going to the next track.
Thank you, Gregoire. So please let,
Right. Thank you. I'm Douglas Bomezi from Uganda. This is my first AfNOG to attend. And I really want to thank the organizers. We were looking at the way forward and I thought of something. I happen to be working with a company that has many consumers that are seated in here. I see network operators and I've not seen any manufacturer of what you consume. How do we see if we contact these people? For one, I was speaking to one of our coordinators back in Malawi, and we are under Cambium Networks. And I would love to engage with somebody who could engage with them. I'm ready to share the number because they requested me to share the number and see how Cambium can partner with the next AfNOG or any event that are going to organize. Because there's a lot that can be done in here. I've seen potential and I've seen a lot of innovations, and which of these innovations, our equipment will need to be used. So I'll be glad to share a lot.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you share on the AfNOG mailing list or you want to share with the secretariat so that the secretariat can handle it. So let's see how we handle this. So, what's yours?
Hi, Isabella Dida, and I I'm one of the instructors for AfNOG. On the discussion on changes to be made in AfNOG and technologies, I think we've already started adding latest technologies to our content. Maybe, well, for some tracks, perhaps let me talk about my track. That's the scalable internet services. We've already started adding the latest content, the latest technologies into our course content. And the other thing I wanted to mention was new trainers or new instructors. I believe we do not have a structure for bringing in new instructors, and I believe it would be one that would be very beneficial for AfNOG and our improvement. If we trying to look at making improvements or looking at how we can add more stuff, add more content onto the courses, because I believe with new people, we get some developments for the good.
Yeah, thank you. So you want to make some comment? Okay, yeah, please, but we have to wrap up.
Isabel, two comments to try to answer some of your suggestions. One was about getting new instructors. There's always a big fight between your class and our class, right? So I should just point out what the difference is. What we do in SIE is that we sometime after the workshop we look at the people we had in the class, and we actually look at which students really stood out as into helping other people and explaining things and would make good instructors. And for the class that I'm in, we're actually in process of old instructors getting retired and getting new instructors trained. So part of this is basically it's yourself. You should, when you teach and when you drive the class, see which students are checking their Facebook account and which students are actually helping others and engaging and getting things done. And of course, the latter you should have a talk and see if they are interested. And that's how we have done that. As far as equipment goes, I'm getting old, so I forget things. Senior moment is called. You'll have it too in the future. Just telling you. So what we do is on in the workshop material website, we have a separate directory where we keep a description of the setup that we use for the class. And this description should be enough that if, oh my gosh, we need to do another workshop, and yes, we should have prepared, and we forgot to prepare and we didn't have time, and how do we make it work? Because people start to arrive on Friday, we can build a classroom. So at least for our track, we put our notes in with the additional advantage that if people want to take the materials and take the methodology and build some workshops of their own, they can do that. So again, the materials, including the setup, is on the website. If you don't know how to find it, come see one of us, we will tell you. And we actually would like you to take it, steal it, and make it better for local NOG. Thank you.
So thank you, and then I'll give the other panelists also 1 minute for final comment, because maybe you guys also have something to say. But before, I think I got a question here. How does a community group get the capacity from AfNOG? Is there any application form? I think Gejan give it a good answer. All the material for the workshop are online. You can use it. Then, but every year there's an application form. Then you see the announcement when they're open for people to apply for the workshop. Then, yes, there's an application process for the workshop. So if you want to introduce a new tutorial, so please talk to the secretariat, or if you want to join any of the track as instructors, so please go through the secretariat or talk to one of the instructors so can also help you. But before you guys speak, I want to call someone. I saw Charles Mususi Charles, we miss you in the morning. So now that you have come, so we were discussing the future of AfNOG. So Charles, please say something. So you can come here, Charles. So, okay, so I think you introduce yourself. I don't want to introduce you, but and tell us what are your thoughts for the future of AfNOG, Charles.
Alain, you put me on the spot about this. I very silently listened in when I came into the challenges that AfNOG has faced, which has been a journey from the very early days. But the one I pick out very much relates to the capacity that has been built by it's a very African team of instructors, which to me has been the real big positive of the long journey AfNOG has had. Apart from the fact that the other challenges that we all have witnessed of each year rotating it, of course, each time AfNOG has gone to different countries, it has left incredible capacity. I think they should give serious thought to there should be serious thought to creation of other NOGs at the national level, regional level. To me, that would appear to be something that that AfNOG should seriously consider. And on the other hand, I want to pose a question on why there would still be a need for the kind of support that used to support and share from our partners. They can also be reach out to local sponsorship in a more proactive way by engaging with local businesses that actually sell in these countries. To me, that's obviously something that should be seriously considered. Gerhard, of course, as you put it very correctly when you observe that there's been there should be a way to regenerate the team of instructors year in, year out, to retire. But to an extent, I think my observation, that has happened because, as you will know, it all started off by what I call a lot of, I think we call them ghost instructors, the ghosts. Yeah, and from what I can tell, the ghosts have mostly disappeared. They're just a few remnants. So there should seriously be consideration for partnering with universities. I noticed that the demography of the students has also come down considerably. You would know where. And as much as we were young as we were students in the very beginning, but maybe not as young as it appears to be today with the type of people I saw attending. So it would seem to me that it's been brought a lot lower in terms of the age group, probably down to university. I did sit in one of the sessions, and you'd see that probably they should be there should be a serious look at who comes in and who's selected. Because on the other hand, it's a good thing to partner with universities. However, in terms of immediate impact, probably that doesn't happen. If the skills imparted during this 1 week intense workshop are not immediately applicable, say in industry, because a lot of the students probably would have a few years before they get into the workforce. So that itself could have worked a little bit on the brand and the impact. Thank you. And
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles. And so now, anyone, the panelists want to say something? Add something? Anyone? Denise?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I just want to add one word, can be a motto. Yes, we grow as we share. That's it.
Evelyn?
Yeah, I think for me, lastly, is if we need to build that ripple effect, is each one of us giving back to the community that is AfNOG. I mean, this year Uganda was hosting, and I didn't have to be local host to actually give back my, my time and really help everyone who was coming into my country to do the work that we did. Because I know what I got out of this community, and it meant a lot to me, I had to make sure that, I give of myself to really help this thrive. So if we each can give our time and resources, I think we can make this even grow bigger.
So thank you, Adiel. No, okay. So let me thank the panelists. I took some notes. I will consolidate the notes and send them to the secretariat, and then maybe we'll share on the AfNOG list and to stimulate some discussions. Okay.
Yeah, just to continue on what you just said, I think it will be good to maintain this momentum, to keep the momentum by opening a channel on AfNOG mailing list, specifically on the AfNOG future, and have the outcome of this discussion there for people who have idea, join and build something, and give ourselves the goal that after 2000, we shall start seeing some of these suggestions being implemented so that we don't fall in the same trap as yet mentioned.
Okay, so thank you. So let's give a round of applause for the panelists. And okay, so I turn it back to Badru or Noah, but I think to close, or we I don't know, Badru, you or Noah. Okay, so thank you.